My name is Jeff from Mental Health Resource.
And I am Kata with Straight Jacket Podcast. And today I have our guest, Delphine, with us.
Hi.
The beloved Delphine. How are you today?
Thank you for that warm introduction. I'm good. Thank you.
Of course. And Delphine is in recovery and also works in recovery.
I do.
And has quite a story to tell, actually. Like, there's been a lot of ups and downs and all arounds. And so why don't we start at the beginning, like we do with most people?
Sure.
And tell us a little bit about Delphine growing up.
Okay. I'm born and raised in Southern California from Los Angeles.
Okay.
My mom was an accountant. She was a single parent. And yeah, she moved around a lot. She was married 3 times. So I went from different school. And it was kind of a wild childhood for sure. I didn't know that she was an addict until like later on. And, jumping forward a little bit, when I was 19, she actually committed suicide from her addiction. She was a crystal meth addict and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
What was it like growing up with an addict, even though you didn't know she was? What was a day to day in the life of?
I would say, growing up with her, she had her mental health issues, and I didn't know that, and she was diagnosed, she was on medicine, but that's just your parent growing up, and you don't know who that person is, So I thought that life was normal, to be honest. I really did. I thought that going from one parent's house to another on, a Friday over the hill kind of thing was normal. Sitting in traffic for 2 hours. My first memory is the police showing up at the house of them fighting, and like physically fighting and stuff. So my design for relationships was really pretty damaged from an early age, I would say. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like, to walk me through that fight that you remember.
I was 2 years old, and
That's early to remember.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And I remember the 2 police officers that showed up. It was one was really tall. We were living in Chadsworth, up in the hills, kind of down the street from Spawn Ranch area.
Okay.
And I remember the police officer showing up, and I was at the bottom of the stairs, and I was looking up, and I remember, or even looking up at the police officer kind of in the entryway too.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember them fighting. Just crazy, not regarding my sister. She's 3 years younger than me. She was somewhere in a cage, in a crib. I was in a cage.
Same thing.
Crib. Yeah,
just
exactly.
enough top on it.
Exactly. Pretty much. Yeah.
I've always had that thought. Cribs are cages. They just
cages.
Topless cages.
Exactly.
You just need to keep them in.
Justifying that, because it was kind of like a cage. But no, I remember I was there, and the cops were there, and that was my first memory, and it also kind of drafted my feelings towards police and stuff like that for years afterwards, which is just fear, just all this fear. When they showed up, or when they would show up, it was more something bad was happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Instead of it being a protective thing, you feel there was somebody that you could go to.
Exactly.
Yeah. You felt unsafe. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
I think that's what's growing up in poverty is people that grow up in poverty, they learn to have a certain relationship with police,
right.
And it's a negative connotation.
Right.
They're going to take you away, or you're going to go to jail,
right.
or
yeah.
It's never go find a police officer because you need help. You
right.
know what I mean?
No,
It's
exactly.
completely opposite code that you live by.
Kind of brings me to now where it's it doesn't matter what happens. I'm reluctant to call the police.
Yeah.
Even today's different. I'm in sobriety. And I know that they're there for a reason, sorry, I'm kind of hot.
That's okay.
But I could have the worst things happening to me, and I wouldn't reach out to the police. And I have, not reached out to the police at certain times. So, yeah.
Tell me about your teenage years, your wild and crazy teenage years.
So I transitioned later in life. I was, I was always trying to fit in. And I felt like I was pretty good at that, kind of chameleoning and stuff like that. It's okay. I really, I got away with a lot when I was younger, just I really did. Like, my mom kind of protected me in the way that I could never do no wrong. Um, as I mature, I realized why she was so protective over me, like as she passed and stuff like that. It's because she, yeah, she like not allowed, but put me in the position to where certain things happened to me to where she carried that guilt with her for a really long time.
Yeah.
And, with that being said, I think that anything that I did, she would never really like kind of, put the blame on me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take this off real
Yeah.
quick. Thank you. But I mean, gosh, we moved around so much all over LA and different schools. So I never really had a chance to be myself, Like it was always like I'm showing up to a new classroom. I have to be this person, this name that was given to me and all these other things.
Did you know that you were trans early on?
I did. Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
it wasn't really a thing yet. Like it
There
was,
never,
but it was so far and few between.
yeah, correct. It was not a thing. Trans people were like on the outskirts of society, to be honest, and like there was like such a negative connotation around them.
Yeah.
And my mom did too. She knew that I was trans. And
Did you tell her or did she just have a knowing?
we had those conversations actually, but I was like too ashamed to talk about it at the time and stuff.
Yeah.
But she knew. She knew.
Yeah.
Like just all sorts of things that were very obvious,
Yeah.
so to speak,
To your mom, to the mom
Yeah.
that knows her
Correct.
child.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like not being able to have a comfortable enough platform for me to be able to like um explore myself
Yeah.
and to be able to be like, hey, this is who I am,
Mhm.
I just kept kind of putting on that mask over and over again, if that
You
makes
hid.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I did. And then I kind of lost myself after I hid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that contributed to your addiction?
100%. Absolutely. It allowed me to kind of, sorry, I'm just gonna be like that really quick. Sorry.
You're good. You're so good, baby.
Thank you.
Yeah.
100%. That's exactly, like, getting high allowed me to be okay. It's like that classic AA thing where it's like, oh, like I got high, I drank, I felt normal.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I felt. I felt like, oh, I can actually do life now. I can think about things that are outside of, until what that did, to be honest, is it kind of just, it kept burying it more and more,
What age did you start?
using drugs.
Yeah.
So I remember I remember drinking like pretty early on. I remember drinking early on, like 9 or something like that, but I was already smoking cigarettes. I was kicked out of school in the second grade for, yeah, I know. I was at a private school. My mom, she did right by us. She like worked really hard. She had a good paying job and she put us through private schools and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a religious school and I'm all like, they thought something was wrong with me, like learning wise. I have a little bit of autism. That's why like I think so much.
We all got a touch of the tism. It's okay.
So they sent me over to UCLA to be tested, and turns out I have a really high IQ, which is awesome, but didn't really help with my schooling. So I was like fighting like the religious part of it. I was like, this is Bible study. This is not academia.
Yeah.
They're like, he's not welcome back next year.
Get him out of here.
Yeah, exactly. So, so from there, yeah, I was smoking cigarettes. I remember one of the schools I went to, like I would jump back and forth between private and public. One of the schools I went to, like spoke only Spanish, and my mom's like, "What the hell?" Like I was bringing home Spanish homework and stuff, and that was like over in the valley, and so it was just so weird. It was just like there was like so little consistency, like throughout all of it. I was like, and I just kept like every like divorce, every this, every that, every time we moved, I kind of got really good at just kind of like playing the system that was made, because it was all, that was the repetition I was used to, that kind of craziness. You know what I mean?
What was it like kids growing up in LA? Because I mean, LA's, pretty much the whole country. It's like has the spotlight under the whole country. So
yeah. I honestly, I didn't know. But then growing up, you're like, oh shit, everyone moves from everywhere to be here, So you kind of like, I mean, I don't know. I realized that I was fortunate, like when I went to New York and other places like that afterwards, I was like, damn, like I saw more of New York when I lived there for like 7 years than like most people did because LA is so big. So I was just used to running around all over the place, from like Calabasas all the way down to like Malibu or downtown LA or something like that.
Yeah.
And then like you go to places that are a lot smaller, you're like, oh, this is tiny,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was used to, like LA, like I know it all like the back of my hand and it's my home. It'll always be my home, but I'm kind of banned from there right now.
You're not allowed to go back for
I'm
right
not
now.
allowed to go back. You're part of my friends group, so it's just you pick me up.
It's not a healthy place for you to be.
It's not a healthy place for me to be
I
right
did
now.
pick you up. Yeah. I did pick you up at a
She picked me up one time. I was oh God, we're kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but like uh I just couldn't stay sober. I couldn't. I tried and I tried and I was in one treatment program to another kind of thing. And one of the times you picked me up and dropped me off at a hotel and bought me food. You remember that?
I do. Yeah, got you a room and with the expectation that you would be going into treatment.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was the time you went into treatment and you stayed.
Actually, I went out one more time after that. Do you
Okay.
remember that?
No, I thought you were using the entire time you were there for in the hotel, and then after that,
From there, I went from that hotel over to I'd left.
okay.
Did you? Maybe you're learning this now.
I may be learning
Yeah,
this
like,
now.
what the hell? So
It takes what it takes, and I think that that's the thing is like,
I'm not used to talking about my stories, so I'm
no,
a little bit nervous.
yeah,
But
you are a little bit
um,
nervous, but it's totally fine. Like it
I'm,
takes what it
I'm
takes.
private. I'm personal with these things, but like I want to talk about it. I want to help someone for real.
Well, there's somebody that can specifically relate to your story because
Yeah.
like it's something especially from the trans perspective, especially from somebody who is transitioning later in life, especially with somebody who lived their identity as a man for as long as you did.
Correct. Exactly.
And in that time you were incredibly destructive in your life. Like you had your
Hurt people.
there
I
was
didn't care. Yeah.
well
Yeah.
yeah, so you had a stint of addiction
Yeah.
and then you ended up getting sober for a while. You were doing pretty well on the
Correct.
coke on the weekends or something, Was
I
that
thought
what
I
it
was
was?
doing okay. Yeah. So yeah, like kind of backtrack a little bit. Uh, yeah, for a while I built a business,
Mhm.
a really successful business. I did get sober in my early 20s. I was a heroin addict. So after my mom committed suicide, uh, I just kind of dove into using drugs, and that was with Kaylee. That was with our mutual friend that we have, and she was an addict, and we both just kind of just went full force into that lifestyle and stuff like that. And
What's your darkest memory from that time?
I mean, it's like she and I were supposed to get married,
Yeah.
and 10 days before the wedding, she gets arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say the darkest memory is like knowing that we were just both like I loved her
Mm-hmm.
and we were on our way to like being homeless and like unable to like take care of ourselves and stuff, and when she got arrested, then I called her mom and I was like, we need to go to rehab
Yeah.
or whatever it was. And she knew that we were on drugs and stuff like that. And she came to the house and helped me clean up the house and stuff like that. And then I went and I got a little over a year and a half of sobriety at that time. After that, I went to a treatment center and did that whole thing and went to sober living, and then made it geographic to New York after that. And then from there, I stopped going to meetings, and yeah, and that was, and then I started building my business, and I thought that by employing people, it would hold me accountable. So I stopped, kind of like, doing any self work in that way. Does that make sense at all, Jeff? Or it's like, okay, well, at least I have to show up, to these people that are, I don't get to sit in the bed and wallow in my own like depression in that way.
It's like escaping.
It's like escaping, exactly. And then the money came into play, and I started making a lot of it, and it took a while. I was in business for about 13 years, and it's been about a year since I've been in business now. But yeah, I kind of just use that as a distraction for a really long time, and um, yeah, yeah, it's I didn't really dive into my addiction uh, until like much later. I started drinking and doing blow like on the weekends and stuff like that for a while. And I was like, see, I'm not an addict. That's what I kept telling myself the whole time,
Yeah. Because you could stop.
because I could stop,
Yeah.
because I wasn't a heroin addict again.
Now
That
you
was the
were,
biggest thing.
and when you were living in New York, were you in a relationship?
I was in a relationship. I was in a few relationships when I was out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I met
With women.
someone. With women. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not to say I didn't have my fun on the side.
Right.
I'm wild. But I mean, because even today I'm like, I love both sexes.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. I met someone. I moved back to California. I moved to Santa Barbara, and continued to build my business over there. And then I met someone and moved to, from there, I was in Santa Barbara for a couple of years and I started actually earning some money. I had an office off of State Street and a couple employees. And I was like, it was so boring compared to New York,
Right.
And so then I met someone and I moved to Europe after that. And I was there for
And
9 years.
and then it all fell down.
And it all fell down. Oh my gosh. I know. Talking about,
Want to take a quick break here?
yeah, thank you, baby. How am I like really bad? Like,
Yeah, you're sweating profusely.
I'm so grateful. Like, you don't even know. Like, I'm so incredibly grateful. Like, I've been to so many treatment programs out here. I've been kicked out of 6 different places, and like, it's just insane. I'm not even kidding you. Like, I knew part of it was like that was like this was like the last straw. This is it, like my friend, Kaylee.
In a very, very hard position before you got into here.
I was really bad. Like, in which way? Like, living
Position.
really bad.
Yeah,
I mean, I went from making millions, Jeff,
Yeah.
I went from making millions to prostituting myself out of a house in downtown LA, like in the jungle. And just like, I needed to sleep with everyone that walked through the door in order to stay like with a roof over my head. Like, and that was from going from, and a lot of that had to just do with like my own like lack of like knowing who I was and like trying to find or feel like affirmed or validated. And then like, they're like, oh, okay, well, we don't give a fuck about what your problems are. We're just going to get you strung out.
It's like a similar pattern, kind of that stuff. It's like a distraction, right?
Yeah.
Another distraction or like another escape,
Yeah.
and then it just probably keeps getting wilder and wilder. But you'll be able to,
You are.
yeah.
Oh, now.
Yeah, you're doing it.
So good. Like, I'm so good. Like, I mean, God, like I'm so grateful today to be alive, and I shouldn't be alive. There's like
Should be. That's why you are.
well, the miracle is there.
The miracle is
The
there.
miracle is there. Like, I just kept getting kicked out of places over and over again. Going into this last treatment program was what saved my life 100%, because, I went, like I said, I went from having all this money and having like a name in film and television. I was the last of 2 to like learn how to paint backdrops. I when my mom died, I was like, okay, how am I going to deal with this? Right.
Yeah.
Drugs and work is what I thought, and that's exactly what I did. And, Kaylee was in her addiction and I was in mine, and we were both like living with all this trauma inside of us and stuff and unhealed. So we clung on to each other with that. And and I dove into work and stuff, and I was just like, anything, like any overtime, any this, any that, like I will take it,
Right.
and
Anything to not think or feel.
anything to not think or feel.
Yeah.
More family members died from drugs. More family members died from suicide, and I remember like, just being like sick of like seeing funerals and stuff like that. I really do, or I was at the time, and I was just like, I grew more resentful and just deeper in my addiction. And I'm working over at the studios, and I'm, a heroin addict and smoking heroin in the bathroom and trading pills with the actors and stuff like that. They're on the soaps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
It's probably a whole nother.
Yeah.
That's a high rolling life.
Yeah.
Because when it's that
Yeah.
good, like when it's working, it seems like a good time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, why would I ever stop this?
Yeah, no, for real. Exactly. I mean, I would go on my lunch breaks over there and go and cash scripts, and these were scripts that were, I mean, this is years ago now, but they were illegal. It was this paper, and we printed a template on it. And we would, the pharmacy would call and Kaylee would answer the phone and we would sell those. And we had like unlimited pills.
Yeah.
That was before the heroin. And
then the pills dried up. They dried up for everybody at the same time. Like, it's funny because, like, if you listen to the other episodes, like, we all have the same story. Like, we had all these fucking pills, and then all the pills disappeared.
That's correct.
Just
And
like
we started doing heroin.
we all started doing heroin.
350, Norcs a day, kind of thing. And then
a lot of Tylenol to put in your body.
a lot of Tylenol to put in your body. Exactly.
That's like liver damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot of liver damage.
Hell of liver damage.
Kaylee was drinking a fifth of vodka,
Yeah.
And taking all these pills. And I remember being like, this is my side of the story, right?
Right.
So, because there's always this too. And so I remember being like, what is she spending all this money on? And I wasn't a pill popper at that point,
Right.
So I'm like, fuck this, I'm going to try them. And so I did. And then I, after a couple times of throwing up, I got addicted to them as well, Yeah, exactly. Right?
We just had somebody on and we were talking. I was like, yeah,
Really?
you throw up, but then you do it again.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
You have to force yourself to be addicted to that
Yeah,
shit.
you
know what I
literally,
mean?
it's your body's literally rejecting it. It's literally saying, no, please don't put this inside of me. I don't like
Exactly.
it. And you're like, but if I just do it a couple more times, you'll get used to it, right?
But I mean, hey, like when fast forwarding, when I started smoking crack, in the Netherlands, I remember getting so high, the same feeling, I felt like I wanted to throw up and it's like your ears are ringing and all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, I mean, you have to, addiction, if you want it bad enough, you can become addicted to anything, I think. Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's just like you surpass something that's like logic at that point. Like logic is kind of like not checked into the conversation.
Right.
Because it's like everybody's raving about this. Why am I throwing up? And it's like, we'll try it again. Like there's got to be some level of like just, I don't want to call it stupidity, but it is. Like
maybe it's that like sweet spot where it's like, okay, like when you're drunk or getting drunk, right? You don't like the taste of alcohol. You don't like throwing up, but like in that little sweet spot where you have that complete relief of everything that you've been suffering your whole life, whatever that might be, that's that little dragon you're chasing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it's like right before the pills are, you're too high or the nausea goes away or this or that or whatever. I mean, I always thought I wasn't an addict for a long time because I was just someone who was addicted to pills, and then the pills turned into heroin.
Yeah.
And then I got off methadone and heroin, and then I was like, I was like, okay, look, I can drink and I can do that. And that's what we had talked about before a little bit. And what is that? Oh, thank you. And, so when I came into the rooms, like it took me this time around and I love my sobriety the first time around. Like I led a meeting out in Hollywood with, it was a 12 and 12 at 12, right? And it's a place called Bliss Cafe. And that place is no longer, it's COVID. It's gone. It's apartments now, And I remember this trans lady named Claudia, who I had speak for me at the meeting one day. And like, lo and behold, almost 20 years later, like she's dragging me into meetings as I'm relapsing after living, in Europe, and I just can't get it together. And it's just like, I had just had a fentanyl overdose and died because I was like, I'm ready to go. I'm good. Like I lived a wonderful life. I visited 43 different countries. I learned to dive in the Maldives. I learned a new language. I had all of these different things. And I remember like being angry with like my friends, you, Kaylee, everyone who wanted me to live, and being like, it's selfish of you guys to want me to stay longer. Really, I was like, that's where I was at. That's how low I was. Yeah, exactly. When I'm suffering. Yeah. I'd never felt that. I'd never like gone to that place of just like despair, I would say. Like I didn't see any way out of anything, yeah.
But you found a way out.
I did.
And it was through love.
Yeah. I was through self-love. The last time I was out there, I know I probably am jumping around. My story is all over the place.
It's all over.
It really is. Cause like most of it's in my addiction. Even though I wasn't heavily using when I was living in New York. Like I was addicted to work. I was addicted to money, you know, and that like was a huge part of it too.
Right.
You know, and I realized that because I was like, I've never really not thought alcoholically.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like from that like critical thinking of like, well, how am I going to survive? You know, I mean, there's, you know, there's sexual abuse. There's all sorts of stuff in my story that just like, you know, the trans thing wasn't the only thing that really like made me feel like isolated and like in my own shell, you know?
What else was there?
You know, there was like, there was sexual abuse from my stepdad when I was 9 to 11 that, you know, I didn't have anyone to be able to talk about. My mom was in her addiction. I still to this day think he might have been drugging her. We lived on a yacht down in Marina del Rey, and you know, one day she found him in my bed, and then he just disappeared. You know, and for the longest time, all I saw was loss, and everyone being taken from me. You know, kind of thing. Even though there was that. You know, it was an unhealthy relationship in that way. At least there was a relationship there, is what I thought. You know, and I've talked about this with therapists and all sorts of stuff, and I'm good with you know the process of all of it now, and I know that it was wrong and stuff like that. But like, you know, that's been
the
my
only
biggest
representation of love that you knew.
Correct, exactly.
Yeah,
that's been my biggest thing. Is just like, don't leave me. Don't, you know, like, and I'll hold on to that, you know, and so drugs have always been consistent, you know, like having that little bag of Coke at the end of the day or while I'm at work, you know, just constantly, you know, just there with me kind of thing. And I've always had that. I've always had that secure relationship with drugs, right?
Comfort drugs.
Secure attachment to cocaine, to blowcaine.
for real though, right? Like, I mean, like, and I thought that I can get away with it. I really did. Like, okay, cool. Like, I'll just have this little drink. I'll just do this little thing over here. I'll just steal a little bit of money from my company, you know, kind of thing. And like, as long as I was always doing something that like kind of gave me that little leg up or just that little feeling of like, you know, then that's how life was. That's normal. Sneaking, as long as I was sneaking a cigarette here and there, you know, or whatever kind of thing. And that was just, that's been like such a huge part of my character my whole life, is just kind of like getting away with as much as I can. And you know, I don't know where that stems from necessarily, but you know, I'm working on it.
You'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out. Yeah, exactly.
So I have a question.
Tell me.
Having this $1 million company,
Yeah.
what happened when, you know, I guess you kind of got to your lowest point? Like, what was like the in between? Because I think that's like,
For sure.
you know.
Yeah. I didn't. So I
How did we get there?
yeah. And I honestly thought that like, I was like, you know, it just kept getting lower and lower. And I kind of was like waiting to see where the bottom was in a way, you know, like there was like this, like, there was like this thing in the back of my head.
It's awareness.
There was a total awareness, and it's like, all right, how much of a victim can I play? How much of this can I sit in and all that stuff, and just like, when am I actually going to get it together? You know, so, you know, I'm in the Netherlands, right? I moved from New York to Santa Barbara, board in Santa Barbara, meet someone, move to the Netherlands, start saving money, a lot of it actually, and business starts picking up, and I'm able to like be ahead of the time zone over here and all that stuff. And like, I have employees that are over here and like over, you know, in India as well. So we're working 24 hours a day kind of thing. And I'm like, and I come up with a process inside of my business that was like really good. And I'm like, for one, I was like, well, what the hell? I never got this victim mode that came out. You know, I worked for like 8 years to put this process together, and I never got like the payoff that I thought I would. And there's like the start of the victim mentality in a way. So, you know, during the marriage to a woman, I come out as trans, and we were together for about 6-7 years, something like that. I don't know. And it was a beautiful wedding over in France, you know, sounds so like romantic and all this cool. And it was awesome. But it was a 4-hour drive from where I was, you know, and stuff like that too. And so I come out, and I honestly, I guess, you know, I was like, for the first time ever, I was doing something right by me. you know, and I thought that everything was going to fall into play because I'm like, and this is during the writer's strike at that time. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, everyone's off of work right now. The second writer's strike, you know, the last big one. And I'm like, everyone's off of work right now. What am I going to do? I want to work on myself is what I thought. Because I started having these thoughts of like not feeling content in the relationship I was in again. And I know, you know, so I kind of felt some of that stuff coming up. So I'm like, I'm going to hire a therapist and I'm going to go down this whole thing and start to like dig up some of the stuff that like makes me want to, you know, cheat, to get high and all that stuff. And the whole intention really was to like to better myself, you know, and you kind of get lost in the sauce a little bit kind of thing, you know, because like I really did. I kind of just was like, okay, where do I go from here? So I thought in my mind, the relationship was going to continue. We were going to figure that out as I went on, you know, but she didn't marry a woman, you know, and, so she had her own kind of, you know, she talked to her family about it and it was like, okay, well, I'm going to go here and you're going to go over there. And that was that. So like for the first time ever at that moment, I felt judgment, you know, on like who I was. And I thought everything was going to be, you know, it's not my world. Right. And then from there, work became sort of secondary for me, you know, and, feeling good, like was like at the top of my list, you know, and whatever I could do to make myself feel good at that point in time.
Instant gratification.
Exactly. And that's what I did. And so I moved out, got my own apartment, and work was just a maintenance program at that point. It really was. It was just like, okay, like, you know, checking on the invoices, things like that, but not really like plugged into work at all, you know? And then, you know, I'm now out. My name's Delphine from David before. And I've got my own apartment and I'm kind of like figuring out life on my own at that point in time, you know, and I've got this business that's bringing in money, you know, the writers are still on strike. There's, you know, big checks that are rolling in and stuff like that. And then from there, I meet someone and they're over on the other side of the room in my apartment. I met him so we could hook up and have sex. And I'm still new to like openly having sex with men at that point, you know? And, you know, it was always something kind of like on the side, you know, like, or whatever, like I'd hooked up with people growing up and stuff, but like nothing like, so I wanted to, you know, so he's over there smoking, you know, what I thought was crack. And I go, what is that crack? And he's all, no, it's freebase. And I'm all, what is that? And he's like, it's, you know, so I was over on the other side of the room, you know, sniffing lines of coke and drinking.
Yeah.
And later that night we're having sex and he blows it into my mouth. And then from there, I don't remember shit. You know, it was kind of, you know, game over after that. It really was. And we ordered some right away. I remember that. Like, can we get some more of it? You know, because it was almost gone.
Classic.
Yeah, exactly.
Immediately.
Yeah. How do you get more? And can we get more of it? Because we had just, you know, it was like, fuck the sex. I want that. You know what I mean? And, yeah. And, you know, there's a lot of trauma still that I'm processing with that, you know, in that short amount of time that I knew him, I lost about $340,000.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
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 And again, you escaped to him.
I did. No, I use people just like I use drugs, very alcoholically, 100%. And I don't mean for that, but I just escape in people for sure. And that's like a huge thing where it's just like, no one's gonna, and that's just part of me growing up today, which is like, I got me, you know, I can take care of me. Yeah. And I know that today. But I still want to revert to being a little baby all the time. It's like, okay, take care of me and take care of all the problems. But then I'll push you away as soon as you try. You know, I'll be like, nope, I don't want that. And I'll start taking it out on you or something like that. So yeah, you know, but we were smoking a bunch of crack, about $20,000 worth of crack a month from my calculations.
It's an expensive habit.
It's an expensive habit.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have to make a call. Like, it was dropped off in my mailbox, 6.5 grams. I was smoking 6.5 grams a day myself of freebase. I know. And I was spending a bunch of money too. You know, I had friends that were over there that owned stores and things like that. And I was just like, anything to feel good. Really, it was just anything to feel good at that point. I would spend like 1,300, 1,400 euros every Friday or every other Friday kind of thing, at my friend's clothing store. I had two apartments I was paying for at the same time, one for like 2,400 euros and the other one's like 1,300 euros. I had a horse, a brand new Range Rover I just bought, all sorts of stuff, and I didn't realize I was bleeding money like I was.
Oh, yeah, you never do.
You know what I mean?
When you're on crack, you're not really paying attention to the books.
No, because you can only focus for like literally 15 to 30 seconds at a time. Yeah. Exactly. And I'm paying this therapist that I'm like, I know she's just I hate to say it, I'm like, she's just milking the clock. And at the same time, what can she do for me?
Right.
I'm on video calls with her in Ojai, California, and I'm paying her, I don't know, $5,000 a month or something like that, because I'm seeing her.
Yeah, it's a client you're not letting go.
3 times in cash, 3 times the normal amount, right? I had like this digital journal that she was reading, and that was like, the same as like a session. Then I would see her twice a week on top of that, And then I've got, at one point I did the math, and it's like I needed to make around 40,000 a month just to start spending money on top of that, and I'm like, okay, cool, let's keep smoking crack. You know what I mean? It was just like, and then the paranoia came up, and I remember New Year's, what was it, 2021 or something like that, I want to say. It gets blurry. It gets a little bit blurry,
a little bit later.
To a degree. And I remember like getting a notification on a phone being like, okay, like an unknown device is following you. And then all the devices in my house, speaking of the crack and all that stuff, but all the devices just started being kind of weird, The cameras were left open on the computers when the guy would leave, and then this and then that. And then I find out that from the police that, he did time in Spain for smuggling, and he stole from a biological woman, down the road from me, and did the same thing and got her addicted to drugs and stuff like that. So they wanted me to come in for questioning with him when I was living over there. And I was so fucked up. I said, I need to go to rehab. But I will come and talk to you guys about it. We had a friend who's a police officer. And that's how I learned the backstory on him. And nothing has ever happened to him to this day. Because I just needed to take care of myself at that point in time. I knew that something was off, and I was like, it's fine. I'm good. And like this passive suicidal kind of mentality showed up in my mind, to where it was like, okay, I'm just going to fuck him. Let him go through all that money with me. I'm having fun. I'm getting what I need in this moment from him, from this addiction, from this sex addiction, from this drug addiction. Right. Yeah. And I'm just going to end my life at the end of it, is what I thought to myself, And so it's been a lot of pulling myself out of that kind of that headspace and stuff, and I figured I would just follow my mom's footsteps, and I mean, gosh, fast forward to, Kaylee flying me out here.
Well, what was your condition when you were flown out here?
I didn't know, but I had 3, we were supposedly in this monogamous relationship. I couldn't see up from down, I had 3 STIs. I had MRSA. I could barely walk, and I had a panic attack at the airport because I didn't want to bring my bags through because I had so much stuff, and I had so much crack cocaine on the couch of my apartment. When I left, I went like this with a blanket, and it just went all over the floor because I knew that I wasn't coming back to that apartment, and whoever was there, I didn't want them to find it, and I couldn't hold a sentence together, really. I didn't know what I got myself into at that time.
You lost your mind.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I
remember.
Do you remember when I got back?
I do. I remember.
I saw you for a little bit. That's right. You sat there with me at Pacific Sands.
Yeah. I remember being in communication with our friend that brought you back, and step by step the process, and you landing in LAX and needing to go directly to the hospital.
What was that like? It was
just it was are they going to make it? Are they going to make it? And
I didn't realize how close I was to death at that point.
yeah.
And
Well, we didn't expect for you to get on the plane.
really,
No.
yeah,
And I had just lost a really close friend in a foreign country that I had left there, and it was a really tragic thing. And
yeah,
Kaylee was like, she
Yeah.
had seen what I had went through, and
yeah,
she was like, is the same thing going to happen to Delphine?
yeah,
And thank God you got on that fucking plane.
yeah, yeah.
As out of your mind as you were, you made the right decision and you got on the plane. And it didn't mean that it all got better from there, but
No.
it was one step, one little baby step in the right direction.
Yeah, there's been this ongoing connection with Kaylee throughout my entire life that has like been the one thing that's kept me, like if she says do this or,
You'll respect it.
I respect it. I wasn't gonna burn her on that plane ticket. I would have burned anybody else.
Yep.
I would have walked away. I would have been like, nah, I don't care.
Mhm.
Sue me, deal with it, whatever. But that there's that one person in life that's family, and that's her to me, and so like I struggled. It was hard. You know how many cabs I missed on the way to that airport?
Yeah.
I mean,
Pretty
the
sure you
guys like,
almost did miss it, or
I
it was
did miss it.
delayed, or
No,
like missed the first one.
my friend who owned the store, down the street on the same block that I was living on, I called her because no cab would pick up the phone. My phone wouldn't work anymore. I couldn't tell you. I lost my mind, right? But she drove me to the airport. I couldn't pull a cab. I couldn't even get a cab, at that point in time. I had already called one had left. Called another one had left. Then in my head, the phone just stopped working. So I call her and I'm thinking that the guy doesn't want me to leave the country, right? And I'm lying to everyone around me on when I'm coming back and all these other things. It was wild. Yeah. And so I landed and I would have, if it wasn't her, I would have absolutely not made it on that plane. And I probably would have ended up in a much worse situation out there in Europe.
You wouldn't have made it.
I wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't have made it then. I wouldn't have made it just before I came here. I was living on the street and I had given up, I mean, it's like, I never knew what it was like to love myself. Living as a man before, I thought that I just needed to be successful, and I just needed to do these things. And it didn't mean that I had any love for myself. It just meant that I was able to like obtain certain things in life, So just because you get off of drugs and alcohol, just because you acknowledge who you are in terms, like from, that you've held that part of you down for so long, doesn't mean that it all gets better.
Right away.
Right away. Exactly.
That's the thing about time,
Yeah.
is it's going to pass either way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you get to choose how it's spent, with regards to some fatist, situations. For the most part, we have choices every day that we get to make that drive us in one direction or the other.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you made that choice to get on that plane. And even though it wasn't a straight shot, there was more trauma to come and more things to deal with. And, it seemed like bad luck kind of followed you around for a little bit after that. I mean, her house burned down, like the sober living she's at just burned down in the LA fires. And there was like a trail of, it was like something was, I feel like there's a lot of tests in recovery.
There was.
It's like you'll be presented with options to use at every turn.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Either you choose to use or you choose to get better.
They're all lessons, though. They're all lessons. Like there's so many lessons that I need to learn to get to that place.
What was your favorite one?
The sobriety. I mean, probably the last one, like that got me here. The biggest one. Because every one of them before that was like smaller lessons, in my sobriety, there's been rapes. In my sobriety, there's been all sorts of things that have happened. In my sobriety, I brought all of these things into my world. And finally, the last lesson was, you're going to like keep allowing this happen to yourself until you find love for yourself, or you're going to keep, they're going to keep doing this to you until you love yourself, and now I know exactly what that voice was in the back of my head as I'm shooting crystal meth at some house in downtown.
Some trap.
Some trap, exactly. That was God, in the back of my head there. It really was. And I want to touch on this part of it because it's like, my relationship with God was so estranged before that. It really was, and I was like, oh, it was cool to hate God. No, I really do hate God. You know what I mean? Like all of those things, right? Like, how do I identify? I was going through my third step into my fourth with my sponsor within this last, year or whatever it was. And she goes, Delphine, I think that you're agnostic is what she said. And I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck is that? I know what it is. I've read the chapter, right? And like, I'm, literate. I know what the definition of the word means, but I just did like a deep dive into it. I was looking for every reason outside of, just doing the work for sobriety, for whatever it was. So I'm like, okay, cool. So let me focus on this. Let me focus on that. This sponsor gave me, her own amends. This sponsor did this. You know what I mean? Just like finding all these reasons to not be in the rooms, kind of thing until, yeah. So, until finally, I'd given up. I was like, I'm not going back to that last treatment program. And Kaylee's like, I have this one place. That was it for you. And at that point, I was fully addicted to crystal meth. I was okay with sleeping on the street. I was okay with doing whatever I needed to get it, kind of thing. And
you got one last lob from the gods.
I got one last lob from the gods, exactly. And I knew it was a real one. And I wasn't playing games before, I was just like, I knew that this is it. And sometimes, like, I don't want to judge people today because you'll see people out there and people can judge people, like, oh, that person's just lazy. They need to get a job. They need to do this or whatever. Like, for me, like, I know what it's like to be trapped in that cycle of just like you can't get it together, if that makes sense. And like, sometimes you need a bone thrown at you, for sure. That's how I see it, and that's what this was for me. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
What do you have to say to the person on the other side of the camera that's feeling hopeless, helpless, lost? Maybe a trans kid that's trying to figure their way out, or they haven't come out yet, or...
Don't give up. Just don't give up on yourself. Talk about it, I wouldn't be here today if I didn't keep fighting. So don't give up. That's it. And acknowledge your true self before it's too late. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Was it okay?
Amazing.
Yeah, that was great.
It was
really
amazing.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
For real?
I wanted to ask you even more stuff, but
yeah.
So I guess we're out.
We are out of time for this episode, but maybe for the next one.
Thank you, guys.
That was great. Yeah.
Thank you, Bob.
And that's it for another episode of Straight Jacket Podcast. If you're anybody that you love is struggling with mental health or substance abuse issues, go to mentalhealthresource.com, fill out a form, and somebody will be in touch with you and get you some help. And don't forget, we love you.